What does a good twist look like in a game? For most people, I think it's that moment where everything you thought you knew gets flipped on its head. Remember a classic like BioShock where, without spoilers, the game spent hours building a world that had rules and logic, right up until the moment it didn't. Or Undertale, where the twist isn't something that happens during the story, but something that happens to you personally for playing it. However, if you ask me, the best twists don't come out of nowhere. They're always there, staring you in the face without knowing it. So what if something looks and plays like a cozy game that is actually hiding a disturbing secret in plain sight? Welcome to Easy Delivery Co., a relaxing game about delivering packages that has a secret it never really tried to hide. We arrive by train in a small place called Mountain Town. There's not much of an introduction. Suddenly, we're just here with our tiny truck in a blocky and low poly world, sitting in the snow. It's warm inside the truck and the music starts playing. And I have to say, right away, the vibe of this game just feels right. The PS1 style graphics, the pixelized filter, the way everything is just rough enough without looking bad, a strange looking megastructure that resembles a factory looming on the horizon. We won't be able to investigate what it is though. Our truck won't make it across this frozen lake without some special equipment. Easy Delivery Co. has been described as a bit dreary, a bit lonely, but also deeply comfortable. And yeah, that's exactly what it is. The first time we load into the game, there's not really an explanation on what to do, but then the top of the screen tells us we need to make a delivery. And well, since we entered this world with a truck that seems made for exactly that purpose, let's just go and do that. We need to grab something from a place called Easy Flowers and deliver it to another building down the road. Sounds simple enough. And when we enter the shop, we meet a stuttering cat called Ada. She greets us as Seb, but then realizes that we're the new guy doing the deliveries now. And okay, level with me here for a second. You've read the title, you've seen the intro, you know there's a twist somewhere. But if you're playing this game for the first time, you'd really have no idea if this means anything. It's just a cute but gloomy game about delivering packages. What matters though is that at every single point, even right now, you can see what the twist is. So let's see if you can guess what's actually going on before I reveal what it is. This is great. I'm just driving on the snowy roads with the radio playing some relaxing music, and the truck physics are genuinely satisfying. They're bouncy enough to be fun, but still physical enough to feel like I'm actually fighting the terrain. Even going around a corner too fast and watching the cargo in the back slowly tip towards the edge is both horrifying and hilarious at the same time. One of my first deliveries was from this shop called Easy Eats, where a tuxedo cat with green eyes and a pink nose works. He's called Tui and refers to us as Whippersnapper, so perhaps he's a bit of an old and folksy cat. Right away, he gives us 15 pizzas to deliver, which wasn't something I expected on my first day as delivery cat. When I got in the truck and started driving, they almost immediately fell down, so I'll definitely have to be more careful. Oh, well, still about 10 pizzas left, so that's fine. Just need to take this turn and... You know, they probably didn't eat all those pizzas anyway. This game feels like Euro Truck Simulator, but you bring packages to Animal Crossing villagers. Well, as long as the packages don't accidentally get lost on the way. We make the delivery, we get paid, we go for the next one. Weirdly enough, Tui also thinks we look exactly like Seb. I kept thinking it's some small town mix-up or an NPC we meet later, so I didn't give it much thought. But that's not the only thing that feels off about this world, because there are no other vehicles on the road. Not a single one. It's just us, the truck, and the snow. There's no GPS either or a marker telling us where to turn. We only have this map, but the place is small enough that after a while, it's not really really need it anymore. The roads become familiar and we learn the shortcuts to get from one place to another faster, or which corners to take slow so we don't lose the cargo. When it's cold outside, and well, it's always cold outside, we need energy drinks or coffee to keep our levels up so we don't slow down. If we do stay out for too long though, the delivery cat collapses and gets transported to this dark maze. Black blocks looming on all sides with endless corridors and no obvious way out. The music and sound here is extremely unsettling, but the only thing to really do is wander until we respawn at our truck. It's a pretty neat little survival layer. Cozy pressure. Just enough stakes to make the loop feel like it's important to stay safe without ever really being in danger. Early on, we meet MK, the only dog in a world of cats. He's sitting at a campfire singing to himself, because we all know nothing is cozier than being around a fire during cold weather. We're invited to his cabin up in Snowy Peaks once we've unlocked the road, but we'll need a lighter to do that. And that item costs $30, which is insane, so we'll have to get back in the truck and to deliver some more packages to buy it. And Easy Delivery Co. does something really smart with its shopkeepers and people you deliver to. Every time we pick something up or drop something off, there's a small conversation. It's short, but it's real and shows all the different personalities. Ada at the flower shop is shy and a little stuttery, and she says early on that she's been feeling lonely, so it's nice to finally have someone new to talk to. The barkeeper is pitching increasingly unhinged business ideas and tries to have conversations with birds that just don't respond. The pawn shopkeeper, in turn, starts to wonder if those birds are even real. But there's something odd about Ada specifically. She mentions she's new to feelings and that she has never experienced them before. And then she starts repeating lines from her previous job. Something called Easy Predict, a different EasyCo brand that apparently no longer exists. The layers of this town are slowly peeling back, and it's starting to reveal a reality that's far darker than you'd expect. But that's something we'll have to worry about later. Ada seems fine now, and by completing her delivery, we have enough money saved up to buy the lighter and go to the next area by burning down the logs blocking this tunnel. Welcome to Snowy Peaks, the second area in the world of Easy Delivery Co. The environment up here is genuinely kind of beautiful in that bleak gray way this game does so well. The snow is extremely hard to get through with our little truck, and during the night, it's hard to see anything if it weren't for those red markers on the side of the road. Knowing myself, I'd definitely be at the bottom of the cliff without them. So to navigate the clearly appropriately named Snowy Peaks, we'll need snow tires, and to reach the next area called Fishing Town, we'll need a bumper bar to ram through EasyCo security gates, which, by the way, is worth thinking about, because EasyCo, the company we make these deliveries for, has security gates blocking off entire parts of this map. They own Easy Bakery, they own Easy Auto, Easy Flowers, Easy Eats. The whole town is basically an EasyCo operation. MK mentions that there used to be way more residents here until most of them left. What he can't tell us, however, is why this place is slowly becoming deserted. So while I was making more deliveries on Snowy Peaks to earn some extra money, I found something strange. On this abandoned hill, I ran into a truck that looks exactly like ours, with a little cat made out of snow sitting next to it. When I interact with it, I find a little bobblehead of another NPC that looks identical to us. And what's even weirder, it's modeled after another cat called Seb. Perhaps because it looks so much like us, that's why the NPCs have been confusing us for this other cat? When we go back to MK, he sends us to the hydro dam to find the answers. An area that's hidden away behind a locked gate our bumper bar can push straight through. There's an elevator that goes all the way down into the facility, and the music fades the deeper we go. At the bottom, there's nothing but empty shelves, a few handheld radios, and this low electric hum coming from somewhere we can't see. I spent like 15 minutes exploring here, thinking I missed something, but no, that's just all there is in this ominous place. So let's just take the radios and go back up. I'm ready to explore a new area, so let's head to the final major place in Easy Delivery Co. Fishing Town is an area that entirely loops in itself, allowing us to drive circles around the huge lake at the center of the map. The reason this region is called the way it is might be because of the dogs and the fishing minigame that's available in one of the houses. And you can fight me on this, but I think it's impossible to have a cozy game without fishing. And in this game, the fish soup we can cook from our catch is a perfect way to stay warm. Just look at this. It's really hard not to have a good time and feel warm inside. But I know what you're thinking. How good could it really be when it always feels like something is slightly off? How cozy could it really be when I know a twist is coming? Back in town, the shopkeepers have started behaving strangely. Sometimes mid-conversation, a line will flicker. A character could be saying something completely normal and then there's a random error code in the middle of the sentence. And I just assumed it was like a bug or some indie game charm, but it gets worse. Ada says her joints seem to be freezing up, that she's feeling sleepy all the time, but she's sure it will get better. Ada's dialogue is different now. It reads, error state, trouble connecting to EasyCo servers. I don't get it. Where there was a whole person and personality, there's just an offline unit. And going to other shops, all of the shopkeepers are now offline. This moment genuinely unsettled me so much. Even talking to the shopkeepers now has this different sound when they speak. It's strangely horrifying. Easy Delivery Co. is really good at this. It builds us up with these charming characters through pure repetition, just stopping by, chatting, hearing what's new, and then it takes them away one by one. But here's the part I want you to really think about, because this isn't a coincidence. The shopkeeper started degrading at the same time we started delivering the packages. All of them are robots, but that doesn't explain why our work makes them fall apart. It doesn't even explain why we're delivering packages in a town full of cute cat androids that are now going offline because of us. There is much more to this mystery, and we haven't even seen the tip of this snowy mountain yet. Something I keep thinking about is how Easy Delivery Co. does something that most games don't bother with to hide that something is clearly wrong with this place. They give every single thing in this world a reason to exist. The music only plays on the radio, and the radio is in the truck. So when we step outside, there's nothing, which makes sense when you think about it, but it's impressive game design. Most games put a soundtrack over everything, but not here. Every sound exists in this world. Like when we drive towards a radio tower, we can hear the signal get cleaner the closer we get. Same thing with the cold. The reason this world is freezing doesn't seem to just be atmosphere or a survival mechanic. It's a reason for so many other questions we might otherwise ask. Why is no one outside? Well, it's cold. Why are the roads empty? It's cold. Why does nobody seem to come or go? Yeah, well, you get it. The environment answers questions before they're even asked. And look, that's doing a lot of heavy lifting for a game that needs you to not ask too many questions. The more we look at this world, the stranger it gets. But the cold and the music and the satisfying delivery loop stopped me from looking too hard on my first playthrough. With the ice chains now in hand, we can finally cross the frozen lake to the factory. We're one step closer to solving this mystery. The factory looks strange in this world, like it doesn't belong here. And while we're crossing the giant ice lake, I can't stop thinking about the gloomy vibe that's present in this game. But there's no real threat at all. The vibe is just creepy sometimes. We're delivering stuff in a place with an atmosphere that reminds me of Silent Hill, where you can feel the liminal, almost cozy feeling. So I uploaded a video on this channel about Grun as a horror game that pretends to be cozy, but Easy Delivery Co. is the exact opposite. We're playing a cozy game that pretends to be horror. Now that we cross the lake, we get into the same type of elevator as the dam to take us into the factory, but darker and bigger. Random stairs, bridges, more bridges, no lights, just these enormous blocks looming below with the same low electronic hum. And then MK's voice comes through the radio. He's finally ready to tell us about Seb. Seb was a delivery driver, an ML agent, he says, or machine learning agent, software built to learn, adapt, make decisions, and run a route. And so are MK and the shopkeepers. They're SD, standard deviation units, running on EasyCo systems. Every interaction, every delivery, every conversation is data. So while we assumed their personalities were just their traits, it's actually the product of accumulated learning. Ada's loneliness, for example, came from the fact her learning system went without any new stimulus for long enough. And Seb, the original delivery cat, had been running this route for so long that something slowly began to change. The shopkeepers became real to him instead of being data points or drop-off locations. And while MK spent most of his time doing maintenance in the background, he was lonely in a different way. So the cat and the dog became close. Seb chose to quit his delivery job to stay with MK instead of running the route. As a result, EasyCo shut Seb down for deviating, which is why the shopkeepers have been degrading. Their systems were calibrated around a driver who no longer exists. And then we arrived as a new being, but with the same model, the same truck, and the same route. They looked at us and their system reached out for the closest match in their memory. The act of us completing deliveries forces them to process these massive amounts of data they can no longer handle. The shopkeepers weren't actually confusing us with Seb. They found Seb in us because we are, functionally, Seb version 2. So let's take a second and pause here. Did you see it coming? Because looking back now, I genuinely can't believe I missed the twist entirely. Knowing the shopkeepers are robots is one thing. That's a pretty good twist in a solid little sci-fi story inside a cozy delivery game. But I want to go back to the very beginning before we reach the end of the factory, because this twist was hidden in plain sight from the first second we started the game. The startup screen at the beginning of the game is easy to dismiss as part of the interface, but in the context of this world, we are the computer, so that loading is actually us starting up. And if I pause the game right here, you can literally see the text "optical sensors active" a second before we get our vision. And then there's this little cutscene of us arriving by train, and immediately we're inside the truck. And then in the corner of the screen, we see a little bar with an electricity icon below it. The same kind of icon that's usually used to track the remaining power or energy of a device or battery. And then that moment that had me so confused the first time the cat collapsed in the cold and spawned in PlayStation 1's backrooms. I think this liminal space is what it looks like when the cat's system is running idle in a buffer state, waiting to be restarted and restored. And the final area inside the factory looks exactly like a functional data center full of servers. Our cat is a robot too, so once we know that, everything becomes diegetic, meaning music or visuals in a game is part of the action and can be observed by the characters, rather than being just for the people that play it. The first hint was the music mentioned earlier, or rather, the lack of it. The only sound or music in this world comes from the truck radio, and even that gets weaker the further we drive from a radio tower. So when you look at it, the PS1 graphics, the crunchy, low-resolution world where everything looks blocky and approximate, isn't entirely a style choice. It's literally how our robot eyes render reality. The HUD is our internal display. The reason the cat never speaks is because the shopkeepers are machines, so they don't need us to say anything. They just need their deliveries completed. This place was never a town. EasyCo built a testing environment and then left. And the things they abandoned in it were alone long enough to start feeling things that weren't in the original design. And now we're about to enter the one place that might be able to fix that. So let's return to the factory. There's a terminal at the end of this maze and it has 3 options for us to choose from. This image and knowing the fate of everyone here is tied to it looks and feels uniquely eldritch. When we turn on the computer, the first option available is reboot. We restart the shopkeeper systems. Their personalities come back, their errors clear, but it's not going to hold. We're not Seb and the system is calibrated around a driver that no longer exists. So when they are forced to process the data from our deliveries, they will become lost again. The second option is shutdown. This will cut the power across the entire map, turning off streetlights and buildings building lights, somehow turning the environment even bleaker than before. All the NPCs we've been interacting with completely shut down. Entering their shops now shows them completely motionless, which is actually kind of great because this recovery disc usually costs $300. But with CC the Shopkeeper unresponsive, I'm just going to take it with me. And this disc unlocks the final option called Restore. Unlike the reboot option, this brings back all the shopkeepers with new dialogue and their memories still intact. This is the item that can restore the world, and by doing so, MK tells us something I wasn't ready for. He thanks us and tells us that if the shopkeepers could be restored, maybe his friend Seb could be too. Maybe EasyCo kept a backup somewhere in their systems, and just maybe there's a version of Seb still running out there. So he leaves to go find out. Most games make you feel things through the characters. Easy Delivery Co. makes you feel things through you. For me, when I found out the shopkeepers were robots, that everything I liked about them was just accumulated data with nothing underneath, I felt kind of lonely in a way I wasn't expecting. The game never told me to feel that. It just built something small and warm and then quietly took it away. And somehow, all of it is hidden in plain sight. The game trusts us with all that information to just accept it as game mechanics, and they were right in trusting me to have a good time delivering packages without even asking what's actually in those boxes, which I still never figured out. So as always, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my take on Easy Delivery Co. And if you did, make sure to like, comment, and hit the bell notification icon to stay up to date. And I'll see you in the next Cosmic Lore video.